Hi, everyone. Welcome to Empowered Expression. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I've got a fascinating person who I've been acquaintance in contact with online for, I think, a couple of years now. His name is Shaun Svensdotter. He is one of those multitasking people who wears many hats. He's going to tell us some amazing stories about, I think, is it 10 times, Shaun, that you created wealth, lost wealth, created wealth, lost wealth. You've reinvented yourself in your business several times. So everybody, please welcome Shaun Svensdotter to join us today.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome, Susie. Thank you. It's about 13 times, but close enough.
But lucky
Yeah,
to believe.
yeah. Very lucky now because our youngest one was just born on the 13th, so we're quite fine with the number 13 these days.
And
So,
your youngest one's 4 months old now. It's unbelievable.
yes. No, number four, 4 months old. So,
Wow. Wow. Then you guys, whereabouts do you live and you work at home? You work primarily
so
from home?
mostly from home, yeah. And we live in the middle of nowhere at basically near the crossroads of where Victoria, New South Wales, and South Australia meet. About an hour away from the border, and yeah, so that's where
How
we
long
live.
have you lived there for?
Sorry, about 6.5 years, almost 7 years now. Took us like 36 years to escape all the potholes of Adelaide. So yeah,
And you guys have been happily married for, was it 21 years now?
we've been. This is our 21st year together. 13th year of being married, but 21st year of being together. We just went past our 20th anniversary on the 7th of June so 7th of June, which has been 20 years. And our eldest son is 18 and a half. Our daughter is 16. Our third child is 14, and our youngest son is 4 months. So,
Big difference between the 14 and the 4
yeah,
months, isn't there?
yeah.
Planned? I know people often ask that, don't they?
We planned to have children together, and well, I wanted six, but Kelly kind of was in no rush to have the six. So and there's larger reasons as to why there's a bigger gap between the 14 and the 4 month, but yeah, we planned to have all of them. So yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really nice. We first met when we were in an online community together, which is
Yes.
a community that I've been in. And luckily, both of us have made one of the kind of not rules, but the guidelines that we were given that in this community we would make friends. And that's
Yes.
what we've been. And you and I made friends as well, which was great. And we've made friends with others from all around the world. You and I were two of the only Australians in the community.
No.
It was an
Yeah.
international community. I've realised being with the community that we're quite different as Australians with international.
No.
You know, we as Australians, we communicate in a different way. We communicate naturally in a much more straightforward and honest way. Nothing against my, international friends, but then Americans and Canadians, for instance, they're very flowery in the way they communicate, whereas we're very cut and dried, black and white. I'll tell you how it is. I'll tell it right now because I don't want to waste any time,
Plus we try and get past any masks that might be there as quickly as possible, and that usually reveals them very fast.
That's true. That's a great way to put it because, people do. They mask themselves behind a veneer of politeness. And
Yes.
sometimes, I remember saying to the person who was running it, I hope you don't expect me to talk to you the same way everybody else does with the, excuse me, sir, please, sir. Yes, it's a beautiful day. Thank you so much for spending time. It's just like, I don't have enough time or inclination for that. Can't I just say, hey, great to be here. Let's go, let's do it. Rather than, all these adjectives that they throw into the conversation. Not all of them, everybody, but I discovered that. And I discovered through different communications that we Australians we are slightly different. We have cultural differences. Um, not so much to England because, you know, we're more closely related to England than we really are to Americans and Canadians and other parts of the world, but in how we communicate, which I think is in a much more refreshing and straightforward manner with less masks, as you say. And you mentioned that, I mentioned that you're married for 21 years. I was with my partner for nearly 30 years. And for me, so I was married for 30 years because we started living together, and really marriage is, for me, it's just a piece of paper. We eventually got married when our boy was 2. And I think we'd already been for 13 years before then, you know, but the whole sum total was nearly 30, you know.
Yeah, and like, I mean, Kelly and I were engaged 6 weeks after we met anyway, so pretty much we're married and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. When you know, right?
Yeah, we did it the most romantic way possible, which was like, hey, we were discussing it and stuff. How about we just say, yes, we're engaged, we're done. And so that's the way it worked for us. So, yeah, we just took care of the wedding part later when it came up. And so, yeah, it's been a journey.
Thinking about journeys, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. You and I have spoken over the years of different journeys that we've both been on. All of them we're going to talk about today. But one of your main journeys, as we mentioned in the beginning, is it's building wealth and losing. You've been on this up and down thing of building and losing and building and losing, or not so much losing.
No, it has been.
Yeah.
You know, when you've lost over $250 million worth of property type projects along the way, and you've had to rebuild each time, it's losing. So, you know, but it's part of it. And what we've recognized is that if you accept that, then the part that follows next is you understand that those experiences are the cost of the lesson. And the more you resist it, the more it goes up, you know, and it's like adding interest on interest. And so accepting that those were the cost of the lesson and that we really needed to make ourselves like fully accountable for everything, even though technically we weren't mainly the cause of the event, we were responsible for our part in it, and we were responsible for healing that. And the more we recognize that, the easier it is to rebuild again. And it takes that feeling of disappointment in oneself off, right? And really, it took us a long time to learn that, but like it takes that dagger out kind of thing. So we're no longer punishing ourselves for not knowing what we know now, and just understanding that those things were the cost of the lesson, you know. And
sometimes the mistakes that we make when we have these lessons is not healing from the lesson and then repeating the same mistakes and not learning, which is why things and they go in cycles for everybody in life. If we don't learn a lesson and recognize it, like you said, you kind of, you know, you own it and you learn by it. Otherwise, we don't really change and move on, do we? We tend to repeat the same things, whether it's in business or life or relationships or romance. And actually learn and grow. We have this repetitive syndrome. It's like being like the wash machine, isn't it? You just keep going round and round and round and round.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that. And on top of that, it's kind of like, what was I going to say? You got to understand the universe has a sense of humor, right? And the universe's sense of humor is like when you're getting dressed and it's really dark, the first thing in the morning, and you go to put your jumper on, but you accidentally end up punching yourself in the nose. And if you know that that's the universe's sense of humor, you're kind of looking out for the tap on the shoulder from that point on, because every single event that has hit us hard has been exactly that. Once we realize what the lesson was, it was like, no wonder that happened, you know. And then you can kind of join in the universe's joke in it all kind of thing and lighten the load.
But
And
how
again,
did you discover the lessons in some of the like you've mentioned property? I've been through loss of property as well, and often
well,
raised to believe that we're going to be with someone, we're going to be with them forever, we're going to fall in love, we're going to have the house with the white picket fence. Somehow we're both going to work because you need to both work, and we're going to make money, and it's all going to be good, and then we'll make enough money to come out the other side, and we'll retire when we're ready to retire, and we'll travel because the kids will be older and everything will be hunky-dory. I've just come out of my 30-year marriage still in debt without anything to show for it, with no superannuation, no pension, and at 61 starting again, still with massive debt. And I laugh at that too, because it's like, there's nothing I can do about it except start
it's the cost of
again.
the lesson. Yeah, it's the cost of the
Learn the
lesson.
lesson, whatever that might be, and basically compound interest will kill you. And try not to make the same mistake this time round. And you're never too old to learn, that's for sure. But we tend to, that's how we're raised. It's a little bit of a romantic ideal with money, isn't it? Depending on our parents and the mindset that we've been given around money, that it doesn't grow on trees and all that sort of stuff. What sort of, so you mentioned that, it was like you've had problems, property, and then you lost a lot. What sort of lessons did you learn along the way that you can teach us?
Well, a lot actually. So 3 years ago, we were doing really, really well again, and we bought this 11 lot allotment, and so subdivision, and I was able to negotiate that for like 1% deposit and the shittiest credit rating on earth and all these other things and stuff. Got all that working and stuff. But the business partner we had attracted into that deal, we realized, so by the time we thought we'd lost that deal, we realized that people pleasing had snuck into our relationship and therefore attracted that particular person, right? So then when we've got the $750,000 bill coming through the emails and everything, we had to stop everything, put everything on the tables, and basically Kelly and I sat down at the back, had our coffees and that together, and for 3 days we were talking it out. Are we growing together or are we growing apart? Because we discovered that people-pleasing is stuck into our relationship. And after those 3 days of discussions, we realized, yes, we're still growing together. Now, okay, from there, where do we want to grow together better? And we need to put better plans in place as far as not having this happen again, because I'm tired of rebuilding, and to get into the million, because that property is worth, well, it's going to be worth $1.6 million a year to us when we complete it, because we've regained control of the property. Right, that took a lot, and we had to negotiate that business partner out of the deal and things like that. But once we could only achieve that once we learned the lesson that we needed to learn, which was people pleasing had snuck into our relationship, and we didn't even notice that it happened. It was just a case of, you get to this stage in your relationship and you think you're talking about everything and you kind of forget to, and stuff, because you spend so much time with each other, and the phrase that kept on coming up was, honey, did I tell you this, or was I just thinking it really hard? And expecting you to like pick it up, or vice versa. And from there, it kind of grew into this people-pleasing thing that attracted this other person and stuff that we thought we needed for the business deal to work. And it quite simply wasn't. We live in the middle of nowhere, and it took about 7 hours worth of driving to go find lawyers to sign off on particular things, to get documents done, passed in and passed around. And he was making excuses for 3 or 4 weeks at a time as to, I can't find a lawyer. He's living in Melbourne. He could have opened a window, thrown a rock out there. He would have hit a fucking lawyer, or some lawyer would have witnessed the event, and there would have been a lawyer. He's in fucking Melbourne at the time, and like 4 different occasions this has happened where we required him to have a signature on things in front of a lawyer, and 3 or 4 weeks of stuffing around almost cost us the deal several times. And it's because we realized we were making excuses for the fact that he had kidney dialysis 3 days a week, right, plugged into a machine. Yes, it sounds harsh, but he wasn't using the other 4 days of the week, and that's the part we were making excuses for. He's got this thing. No, that's his Achilles heel. He's just using it to make it so he didn't have to do fuck all, and he's still going to gain like 13 grand out of the deal, but like that is a small price to pay when we thought it was going to be like 500 grand. It was going to cost us to get him out.
So is that you people pleasing him? Or
that was us negotiating. It's us negotiating him out. The only thing we're getting him to do is just finalize any taxes crap that he has to do to get him separated from it. And because otherwise, if we were people pleasing him, there would be about 500 grand to get him out.
But do you feel that that's what you guys were doing before in making allowances for him?
We were making allowances for him, and he was going to take like a third cut and stuff. He was doing fucking nothing, And I recognized from day dot when we realized the opportunity was in front of us and we could do this thing, that it was going to take several hundred phone calls to get it to work. But I realized that, and by the end of it, it did. It took me 1,200 phone calls and emails to get the 12 yeses I needed to get the deal to go forward and secure the land, right, with a 1% deposit during lockdowns or in between lockdowns, and and all this stuff to make it work. And I made it work despite all that and despite all these other things happening, But we could only really address the issue that had happened if we took complete responsibility for the whole thing, Likewise with 14 years ago, what happened there is that the extended family across 300 people on 150 on my side, 150 or so on hers, and they were all pushing and pulling us to go this direction and that direction, 150 Ks there and whatever. And then when we would visit one, we'd get 10 phone calls. Oh, why don't you visit me? And like, we just heard you're in the area. So, and we had, we had all three of our first ones at that stage. So Shane, Dana, and Dean. Dean was only a few months old. And it ended up being that like we were both people pleasing all of them. That one we were aware of because when we started saying no, that's when all the bullshit started. And Kelly's health deteriorated even further because she was getting more and more abusive phone calls when I was at work and that sort of thing. And then her mental health declined so badly that she was hospitalized and the family was at war, and our families came together, got the government involved, and we lost a $250 million property deal, our children, our home, and everything else that we were building for those years, despite being tugged in all these different directions. And so that led on to several years of battling in courts and all these sorts of things. And it led to my dad killing himself, my grandfather dying the following week, my mum stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars out of my grandfather's accounts, and all sorts of rubbish that was occurring back then. And then, so we ended up having to, we fought as hard as we could. And in that time, I still built a couple of successful businesses. One of them was a cleaning and gardening business and retaining walls, paving, that sort of stuff, home services. And I built that up to 3,000 clients, 16, 17 workers, 5, 6 cars. And our only competition was the Jim's Mowing Group, right? And we were doing really well at that until my dad killed himself and they started the next court battle and my grandfather passed away and those types of things. And then my workers started taking advantage of my deteriorated state and started stealing cars, stealing equipment, stealing clients. And I was like, had to collapse that one and start again, And we pulled right back and allowed ourselves to say, look, we've lost all these battles, all our resources keep on disappearing, and we cannot fight these court battles over and over and over and expect our children to come out the other side of this in a healthy way at all, and we had to stop the tug of war that was occurring, and the animosity that was being given to our children all the time and stuff was not healthy, and we can only see them for a couple of hours a fortnight. And so we found out that they were going to move interstate and to New South Wales from South Australia. and we weren't getting any straight answers. So we actually sold as many things of what we had to make ourselves homeless, live out of our car until we could find the answers we needed as to, okay, how can we be close to our kids enough to see them on that 2 hours a fortnight basis without continuing these wars? And we did that. And as soon as we got enough answers that we were satisfied, found work over here, found a nice cheap place we could live, which is here, to rebuild over and over again if we needed to, without ever fearing that we're going to be homeless ever again, And then we found out that their application to New South Wales had been rejected upon the fact that the ex-mother-in-law had lost work there and couldn't go on the system. So New South Wales bounced them all back to Adelaide after all that, and we haven't seen them since. And so we've had to go through that, and we had to process that in such a way that, look, how about we consider that they moved out of home earlier than anticipated, And we process it in that one particular way, and we just stop the fighting. We forfeit those battles that were like asked of us, and allow our children to have somewhat normal school experience and stuff from here on, at least to be something. But if we can just work on this together, work on ourselves and our future together, then when they are of age, they can come home to two healthy parents despite all the odds, and they will know that they're going to be welcome to come home at any time, and
you get to speak to your kids? Do you ever get to speak to them?
We haven't heard from them in 6-7 years. So, like, now they've voiced up.
Family members that you've given your kids, is that right? Or actually fought the court?
Ex stepmother-in-law, yeah. So she's not even related. Kelly's real mom passed away when she was 5, and my parents were both abusive to me, and Kelly's dad's an alcoholic, and so they chose to give him to the ex-stepmother-in-law, who's a schizophrenic bipolar with a criminal history in New Zealand. And yeah, so it's absolute insanity, and technically I'm not supposed to say anything of it, but fuck it, it's our story, and it's all part of it, and we've learnt so much from it, and that's probably the hardest thing that anyone would really believe, is the fact that we've learnt so much from it, and we're as functional as we are.
You have to learn. I come from dysfunction as well. You have to learn from the dysfunction. Yeah. People are, I'm never envious of people who have a really supportive family system. I'm always really pleased for them. They have great relationships with their mothers or their fathers, and they all seem to play happy families and have Christmas together. And I think, well, that's great. And I really do. I've always been like that. But yeah, both sides of our family dysfunction. It's the pain. It's hard to get over the pain of being betrayed by the people that are supposed to love you and care for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our extended family used to play along like that. Like they used to play the happy
family got as well.
Yeah. But like when my grandparents won Cross Lotto in 2001, no one expected to have that amount of money as in the family lines, and they just started fighting, thinking that they're entitled. Whereas my first thought was, if they can win it, I can make it, and I already had plans in that regard, and I was just so happy for them, because my grandparents on my mum's side especially, it was so down to earth. Like there was times and stuff where they had $2 for the entire month they were living, and my grandfather was a watchmaker. And when the first family war died down, this is before our mess happened, when the first family war died down, some of our family got together and took my grandmother shopping, because granddad being a watchmaker, she'd never had a brand new watch. And that's all she wanted. So they drove her around the entire Adelaide, north, south, and all these different places, checked out all these watches, $20,000, $10,000 watches, $5,000 and $200. She ended up getting a $10 Big W one at the end of the day. And she was just over the moon because she had a brand new watch for the first time in her life at like the age of 80 or something like that. And
when they won some money?
Yeah, in 2001, the beginning of 2001. about 900 grand they won. Sorry, how old were they?
Yeah.
I think they're in their late 70s or early 80s.
So did they get to do any? Were they fit enough to like travel or do anything with it?
I think they did like 2
And
holidays to
travel.
Queensland. Yeah, I think they did a couple of holidays to Queensland. They did buy a house down Victor Harbour as a holiday house, and they bought their own acreage up north, closer to my parents at the time. But they didn't really do anything extravagant. What they did do is they had a person who was a financial advisor came out to them, and they split the money in half. So that half was in an investment of a particular type, and they could pull the interest out per month. Right. And they got like 5-6 grand per month that they were able to live off of. And they used the other couple hundred, like the few $100 grand and stuff on top of that to do whatever they wanted to do and things like that. Bought new cars, that type of thing and stuff. But like at that time, I think it was like a Toyota Camry, so it wasn't that much of a new car. But yeah, so they were really down to earth. But like then the rest of the family just seemed to feel like they're entitled, and unfortunately, yeah, you mentioned the coach we have in common. He had the analogy of the Lamborghini, right? Like the universe doesn't give you the Lamborghini unless you've learned the lessons, kind of thing. And I've kind of like twisted it a little bit. Like even your 20-year-old, if your 20-year-old comes up to you and you've got this brand new Lamborghini, even then you do not give the keys to that car to that child at the age of 20, because they haven't learned the experience, they haven't learned the respect that they need for the road, themselves, other people, and the car, And so that intrinsically is just a bad idea to give the keys to that child, because there's a high likelihood it's the last time you're going to see that child ever again, And if we know that, then we need to know that that's the same for our resources. And that's why I'm actually fine with losing the $250 million deal and the other deals that we've had along the way. And I'm so grateful to have control over that one that we thought we'd lost a couple of years ago, because we've learned the respect, that we're required to be able to maintain it and to grow it. And so therefore we now have it back under our control. And we are also now in the position to start acquiring other companies now on the Gold Coast and those types of things. We're looking at a few foundries that people have already built for like 5 to 10 years and they're wanting to exit, And so we're looking at those opportunities as well, just as like extra, investments. We're in that position because we have a respect for not just ourselves, but the process required to get to where we are, and the respect that we've built for our relationship, the fact that we've gone through so many things together, we've had to learn so many things, to get so confident that the dramas had died down enough that we could have Eli join us. And we did that as a home birth, Kelly and I, just by ourselves, no nurses, no doctors, no midwives. 2:22 in the morning on the 13th of March, he was born. And by 4:30, everything was cleaned up, so much so that it was just mum and baby and myself and the dogs enjoying our time. And then, of course, I was stupid enough to put a picture of Eli on feed with her dog. And then another drama started because the next door neighbor across the road reported us and stuff for having the dog too close to the cot, which is ridiculous. But that drama kind of created another thing. And then they were going off the reports from 14 years ago, so we've had to calm them. But then a few weeks into that, we realized a couple of truths where, what if we caused this? Like, what if we truly did cause this? So we pondered that for a little bit. But before we worked out the answer to that, we were like, well, okay, everything that we've gone through so far has taught us particular lessons that we needed to know for later. So if that is true, then we need to trust this too. And that gave us the calmness to be able to answer that other question. Did we possibly cause this? Right? And we learned this technique not long after about if you really, really want to know exactly what someone else is feeling and doing and what their intent is, if they're shit at communications, they will do something to make you feel exactly what they feel, right? And we looked at all of our situations like that. We did a reevaluation of all these things. And so, okay, if that's true, and so for example, to give an analogy to that, if a toddler is unable to communicate his feelings, which they're not able to do most of the time, say they're feeling frustrated, they will do something to make you feel frustrated, right? And as long as we recognize that, the frustration will dissipate and you'll be okay, right? So they might break a lamp or something like that, and they'll make you feel frustrated, and you'll have an idea that they're feeling frustrated. So we looked at this entire thing and considered, we considered them all like that because they do suck at communicating. You know, we were grown up around narcissists and really toxic and dangerous ones all of our lives. So that tells us inherently that they're really terrible at communication. So, okay, what if we did cause this? What was the feelings around that time? Well, they made us feel robbed by stealing our children, by stealing everything we built on top of that, and by literally breaking into our home. Our parents, both sides of us, broke into our home and stole stuff, you know? So, okay, they've made us feel robbed. How did we potentially make them feel robbed? And we scroll back to that part where I said we discovered that we had been people pleasing by going this direction, that direction, that direction, until we said no, right? So what we realized is that we were being really empathic, understanding people, and therefore they were dumping on us, you know, in that whole toxic narcissist and empath type dynamic that happens. And if they were dumping on us, and all 300 or so of them were dumping on us all the time, the moment we said no, well, they were quite happy dumping on us until that point. So they were quite happy dumping on us until that point. So therefore, by us saying no, you're going to deal with your own shit, right? We're not putting up with you dumping on us anymore. We're not going to be pulled in this direction and that anymore. Well, we cut that faucet off. So therefore, we made them feel robbed of happiness by not allowing them to dump on us anymore, and hopefully gave all their shit back that we'd been carrying for so long. And the moment we realized this, we had the best sleep we've ever had in our lives. And the situation with the authorities and Eli and ourselves started calming down. And we've been resolving that, and now it should be resolved in the next month or so completely. And we may be able to use that to help get our first 3 back home. That's the hope. And so, yeah, it's been one hell of a ride. So,
wow. It's a huge, huge ride. There's so many things in what you just talked about. Because my mother was a narcissist. When we're raised by narcissists, we become natural people pleasers, because all we try and please our parent or parents to get their attention, and it doesn't matter how much we please them, how much we achieve, how hard we work to get their attention. We never get their attention. We just completely continue to fall under their spell, and and we take that into our adult life. I was a people pleaser as well, and we fall into these patterns that we're raised with of being classic overachievers. Because being a people pleaser makes you an overachiever. When you're a kid, you tend to try and be the best at everything just to get their attention. I remember winning a huge state award in business, the first award I'd ever had, and my mother used to be more focused on the television than on me, and I got in trouble for ringing just after 9 o'clock at night because she was watching her favourite show. And I'm kind of sitting there I beat out 70 businesses in my first business to win a huge business award. And I just wanted to speak to my father, but it was a problem. And she made me feel bad because, you weren't allowed to ring after a certain time because her shows were on, They do these things, narcissists, because they're sick little puppies, and they do it for control. And I'm listening to your story, and I'm hearing all these elements of control. I went non-contact with my mother 10 years ago when my father died. It was a 2-for-1 deal because she lied. They lie. You tell me that broken jails, they lie and they cheat and they manipulate us because they think they own us. And
Yes.
because they push all our buttons, and they've been pushing our buttons for ages. And the more we give them, the more they take from us, the more control they have over us. Best thing I ever did was go non-contact with my mother,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
banned her from talking to my child. And
Yeah.
I've given him, he's 21 now, and I have given him the opportunity to reach out to his grandmother if he wants. And he's like, no, Mum. No, on my father's deathbed, or 2 weeks before he died, my mother decided it'd be a really fun game to tell the authorities that I'd physically abused my father, like by hitting him. He was semi-paralyzed, right? I was massaging cream into his legs, and something was an abuse of pills, and because she had power of attorney, that gave her complete control. They had to believe her. It became part of public record. I had to go to the police. I had to get a lawyer. It was then passed from 2 hospitals. It was the worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
I spent my whole life with the shit that she'd given me, and they always managed to surprise us with the evil intentions. We always we sit back and we think everything is going well, and then all of a sudden it's like bang. And they always come out of left field, and they always surprise us when our guard is down, and we always let them in. I'm at the stage, if any of my close friends who have known me for a long time had any inkling that I was going to speak to either my mother or my brother, there would be a massive intervention. Flights would come to wherever I was in the world. Slapping would happen of me, to remind me of what an evil bitch she actually is.
Yeah.
I would not be the woman that I am now and have done the things that I've done if my mother was still in my life. It just wouldn't have happened. And I didn't get rid of it until I was like 51. Very empowering,
Yeah.
So I have
one of the
people and we become empaths.
Yes.
And children of narcissists, we naturally have huge empathy for other people because of the control that we've been under, that we don't realize for our entire existence. I was really lucky that I had friends whose mothers saw me for who I was and saw the personality and saw the joy and saw the woman I was. And I got to have conversations. Whereas at home, I wasn't allowed to speak, I wasn't allowed to have an opinion. I got to hear.
Yeah.
I moved out of home when I was 18 because I just got so tired of my mother taking out literally with her fists, taking out her frustrations on me. Then one day I turned around and I punched her back. I wasn't competitive at the time. So I was built, and then I moved out 3 days later. I found someone to live with and I moved out,
Right.
And I've done a lot of study into narcissism and myself from the age of 21, trying to find who I was, get over the people pleasing, recognize these things in me, realize how manipulated I'd been from the word dot, realize that I didn't think of, my mother was incredibly jealous of me. So I started dressing down at the age of 19 and covering up what I looked like. I spent 30 years covering my body up for her, for any other narcissist, for any other person that had jealousy, because as soon as someone would get jealous, I'd just implode, and I'd start covering it up, I remember I've got wicked legs, I'm really good looking legs, and whenever any woman would go, oh my God, look at your legs, I would be devastated and that it was my fault that she felt bad. And of course, as I got older and did all the work that we have to do as children of narcissists, and it's a lot of work to feel about who we are and how we actually feel and think without all this baggage of this evil manipulative crap that we've been raised with, and come out the other side. I'm a little bit older than you. Actually, I'm a lot older than you, but I'm so proud of both of you for the journey you've been on, listening to that story, because you throw narcissists into anything, and people that don't know narcissism as parents, they can walk away from a partner. You can't walk away from how you've been raised as a child with a narcissist.
No.
You can't walk.
There are a couple of there are a couple of things I've worked out how to loosen that load altogether.
Oh.
It's beautiful.
And you have to work it out, don't you? There's no one that can really tell you.
Yeah.
It's no magic fix. It takes a really long time to really.
It takes a few realizations
and unprogram.
Yeah. So like Kelly and I, we turned to each other at the beginning of this year, and this whole weight lifted in one realization. It's like, honey, thank God they were abusive and everything and stuff in exactly the way they were, because they're also lazy and not ambitious. Because if they were ambitious, they really had a shot. And we just started laughing because they had that laziness and they're scared of failure. They're already, between my mother and the mother-in-law, they'd already paid someone to try and kill me off and failed there too, right? And we had witnesses to that, right? And like all my childhood years, my dad broke 3 cricket bats across my back, right? He bought 2, the third one he made. It took a couple of weeks making a fucking cricket bat just to break it across my back. But like even that, all those things, they still failed to break us and who we are. We worked out a way that we are now stronger, having gone through all that crap, and know that because they're scared of failure and they've still never succeeded, they're scared of actually trying again. I'm sure they could try, but we've just built things in such a way that they can't again anyway. So we just looked at each other at the beginning of the year. It's like, thank God they did exactly the way they did, because they're not ambitious. If they're ambitious, they really had a shot to do some damage. Yes, it took a long time to get past it and all. It took me until 2 years ago just to be able to look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror at all. Couldn't take a photograph or anything like that. Now I'm doing daily lives every single day in my own groups. And I still can't believe it when I click end a video that I've just done that, let alone being able to do this around the world. And the other couple of podcasts I've done as well, just knowing that I've done these things, I've gone on camera. I was never going to go on camera. If you told me 3 years ago, I would never believe it.
It's when you actually embrace the positive side of being raised by a narcissist, rather than, because it's a very negative way to be raised by someone who has no empathy except for themselves. And yours sound like really evil narcissists, and there are some evil narcissists out there that really just cross the line as far as how to behave like a human. And as children of narcissists, we are very aware that blood is not thicker than water, and we don't believe that. My family are the people I've chosen to be in my life. My family are like friends that have been in my life since I was 21, who know me and love me and support me regardless, that I can ring up and go, But it took me a while. I've been on a search since I was 21. After my 21st birthday that my parents put on for me, after I'd come back from 6 months in Europe, which was awful, the woman up the road took me up the road. I didn't even know her, and she sat me down, gave me a cup of tea, and she said to me, I have to tell you something. There's something seriously wrong with your parents. There is nothing wrong with you, but there is something seriously wrong with both your parents. That was like, oh, thank God. Up until then, I thought there was something really wrong with me. Something wrong with my personality, something really wrong with me. And from then on, I was on a hunt to figure out who I was, to get rid of their thinking. There was things that my mother really hated, about others, that she'd just put on me. So I'd look at people the same way she looked at them. And always have this real juxtaposition in who I was, and over the years, I've got rid of all of that, as have you, and I've learned to embrace that there's superpowers involved. Being raised by narcissists. It's wonderful to be a really empathic person. We have so much done in the world. We have so much love when we learn to love ourselves the same way that we can love others, and we learn to control the people pleasing. So it's a good thing rather than a crutch. And being a high achiever is a really good thing, because
it is.
Our children of narcissists will go for anything. We'll give anything right. We are not scared of failure. We're usually unfailingly honest, because they're going to hit us anyway. In my life, I'm going to be honest because you're going to hit me whether I tell a lie or not. So most will be honest because what's the point, So I've learned to embrace the things in my life, and I make it a superpower. And I know that there's many children of narcissists, especially really evil ones that yours, that don't survive. I've there's Facebook sites. I tried to give people advice, and there's people who were raised by narcissists that can't carry on relationships. They'll never, ever make it in life. They're so stuck in their past, and they're so burdened by the crap that they've been brought up to believe about themselves that doesn't matter how much coaching you would give them, it's just so powerful in them, which is really...
Yeah, it is really sad, but it's what I love about what I'm doing now with the coaching side of things, because every person that I'm helping, every person I'm in contact with, like even the other times that we've spoken, right? One of the things that we do have a superpower for is because we've been so abandoned, neglected, punished for all sorts of crap and stuff that wasn't necessarily our fault, but we took it on as our responsibility, right? When we find someone that feels things the way we do and sees things the way we do, we can give that feeling, no matter where we are in the entire world, that the person we're talking to and interacting with, we are all in, and we can make it so that we can send love, we can send care, and let the person know, like, even though you're on the other side of the world, in the freezer, you're on the other side of the world, and that stuff. Anytime that we do interact and stuff, I'll make sure that you can I'll make it feel like I'm right there. I could give you a hug at any moment and you'll feel it, and if I can't do that, you have this other feeling that if I could find a way to be right there, if you needed, it would be there. I would be there, kind of thing, and that, I think, is probably the superpower that's emerged from persons like ourselves, from going through all this crap, because we've taken the entire other end of the scale. Our parents were there, but the lights were on, no one was home, so, and all this abuse and stuff has been given to us. If we can just realize that, okay, we didn't cause it, but we are the responsibility to heal ourselves. No one's going to do it for us. The guy down the street dressing up like a giant hot dog, he doesn't give a fuck. He's not going to help anyone except himself selling hot dogs. That's all he's going to do. We can't rely on our government, right? We can't rely on our so-called disease management systems because they do not work. We realize we've not had a cure made since polio, and yet people still trust that system. I don't get it. But anyway, so going back a little bit to that phrase you were saying before, the one that they most use, blood's thicker than water. And it's like they've just destroyed that entire concept by overusing it straight away. And it's the first mask to fall. And when we recognize that, it's a lot easier to walk away. Because like yourself, I had to leave home early as soon as I was able to get my P's and have my own car. 16 and a half, I was basically living out of my car. And officially moved out at 18. And again, the high achiever thing, maths 1, maths 2, physics, chemistry, English, all these things, 97.9 out of 99.9. And they say, oh, what'd you bother for? You're still going to fail. It's like, I didn't, Anyway, they are going to miss out on so much. But one of the other empowering things that has got me to where I am to be able to help as many people as I am now is learning the art of forgiveness, right? And again, I'm a mutual friend, but I've kind of added a couple of things on there, to really make the forgiveness exercise that we were both taught from the same person effective. There's a couple of ingredients that he missed, right? And one of them was to actually wish them well. I wish them abundance, right? And the way we can actually get the warm, fuzzy feeling to do that is to understand, because they're not ambitious, they're lazy as fuck, right? They can only dream that big, right? So you can wish them all the abundance that they can think of, and it's still a fuck you, right?
It is.
And so, yeah, and it lightens the whole thing.
It does.
So you can go through and go, thank you for all the things I've been carrying for all this time and stuff. I do understand that whilst you're trying your best, your absolute best sucks. And I forgive you for that, because if I'm carrying it, you cannot fix it. So I'm going to give you that back because I've learned everything I possibly can for that, and I forgive you for that experience, and I wish you all the abundance you can think of. And it's like, yes. Can you get that warm, fuzzy feeling, and it all just leaves?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the one thing. If we can teach anybody, but especially people who are children of narcissists, is to learn to forgive yourself, forgive them for being flawed human beings. Learn to. It's a big journey, life for children of narcissists. I used to have this thing that I started to do. I was in. I had this like epiphany moment. My mother used to aggravate the crap out of me when I was around her. I always thought she had a split personality when I was growing up. One was Doris Day, and Doris was great fun because my mother's a performer. She sings and dances, and apparently she's still teaching tap dance twice a week at 83, so the woman will never die. But I come from good genes, and we were at a cinema, and I just got so angry. We were actually standing, and I'm probably not supposed to say this stuff. We were standing near a balcony, and we're 3 stories up. And she was only little, my mother, and I'm really strong. And I thought, I could just, in front of all these people, I could throw you over the balcony, and you could be gone. And I literally had to walk. I was shaking. I was so angry, and I walked away from her, and I went to the bathroom, and I just sat there. I thought, I cannot allow these feelings to take over me anymore. I cannot allow to happen. This is not who I am. I'm a full of love person. I'm joyous. I'm not this person. And I started doing this thing, and I've taught many people over the years. I used to call it, you're not somebody else's mother. So I started pretending that she was somebody else's mother, somebody that I liked, right? But somebody else's mother. So it wasn't my mother. So the tone that I used when I spoke to her was different. The words I used and the structure and the way I put them together were different because there was somebody else's mother, and I was raised to be polite, if not anything else. So I would always deliver things in a different way. That then stopped her responding in this same, we respond. It's like, we're raised a certain way. They push our buttons, we respond. Or react, actually.
Yeah.
So I would respond in a different way. I ended up being able to control the relationship when I spent time with her and managed to, and I didn't spend much time with her because I was low contact for decades. But what I did, which was usually my dad going, can you take your mother shopping? I was like, all right. But I would always pretend she was somebody else's mother. And then Doris Day would be there more, and I liked Doris Day, and she was kind of more tolerable to be with. When she wasn't Doris Day, her facial features would change, and she would become her normal self without any of the walls on, and her eyes would change, and her face would change, and that would happen with yours as well.
Yeah,
that's how I started doing it. I literally, she was somebody else's mother. And that's how I managed to spend time with her. So even when she would literally dance and sing in public around people, and it was just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And then she would say to me, and the way she would carry on, like she would comment on people who are overweight, like derogatory. She was racist, bigoted. She was everything you think of, and I found it very triggering because I was the complete opposite. But with somebody else's mother, you're just like, shit, I feel Kathy, she's her mother's bitch.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll be over and I'm just here, and and it worked. Thank God.
It does work, very much so. So we have a friend of a family. There's a family that we've seen the mother like having those narcissist traits and been babysitting their kids to help put a stop to the cycle. So they're seeing a lot more of Kelly and I, the way we interact and everything, because she can't have a relationship to save her life, that type of thing, and stuff, their kid's mum. And that was kind of triggering Kelly for a while. And so I gave her the analogy of, have you seen the kids' TV show Bluey?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So they got pictures of little Bluey chasing the bin chicken. Right, and we class the narcissist as the bin chicken because they're always after scraps. Any little bit is just to be annoying about scraps, So we'll put that near the back door where we have our coffees and everything and stuff. So when we're bringing coffees out to this particular person, when she's picking their kids up from being babysat and stuff, we can see the picture of the bin chicken right near the door. It's like, that's okay. She's just a bin chicken, kind of thing. She's just after scraps, It just neutralizes the whole thing. And it's not much nicer.
And we have to find these protective mechanisms to find ourselves. to make sense of it. I used to have huge chats with my friends before the era of psychologists. So you go to a psychologist and go, I just need to figure it out, and I would talk about things that they would do for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And my friends would just listen and listen and listen and listen. The more I got stuff out of me and put it on a plate and looked at it, and the more other people who were normal from normal families could go, no, Suze, this is really shit behavior, because we doubt ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
And you need to be able to talk to people who know you and love you, so they can go, no, that's not nice. No, that's really evil. No, that's not normal. It's not right. You're okay. The way you're thinking is okay. Let's keep going on, which is what psychiatrists and psychologists do for us now. But sometimes when
they're supposed
to. Friends, well, that's right.
Yeah.
Really supportive friends or people who have lived a life and understand. That's what we need. And I've always, for years, I've been saying the only way we heal is when we speak. And the more we speak about stuff, and the more we bring it out, and the more we talk about the not normal part of how we've been raised, the more we figure out who we are and what we really think of. I was raised by religion as well, so I was indoctrinated into a religion. So it's just like I had and the Bible. God and the devil, they both went bang, for years.
Yeah. And I've worked out how all that kind of fits too, because so our generation is like trying to wake up, right? And there's no wonder there's an explosion of coaches and stuff, right? Just going around the world kind of thing. There's a coach for everything. If you got a hair sprouting out the left butt cheek and stuff, there's a coach for that, I'm sure. Right? But there's no wonder why there's so many coaches coming forward. It's because those of us that have woken up and realized, no, we're trying to actually be our best selves, right? And there's ways of becoming that. And the way we are becoming that, we're realizing the best of us don't need rules, right? And we're recognizing that the rules are kind of pointless, because those of us who recognize you don't need rules to be a good person, it's not that hard just not to hurt the person next to you or whatever, and just to give love and conditions, not unconditioned, to give unconditionally. To just be nice and not be an asshole. You don't need rules for that. No. Right? And the people at the other end of the scale who really are the assholes and stuff, they don't read anyway. They don't know what a book's for. anything more than 2 syllables and stuff, no, it's too much for them. What the hell is that rectangle on the shelf? And it's the ones in between. They go, well, you can't do that. It's like, who said? It's like, you're not doing anything. The ones that are usually complaining, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. They're not doing anything at all. So the rules are completely pointless. But scrolling back a little bit, so our generation is trying to wake up and realize we can be our best selves. We don't need all this bullshit kind of excess. But the generation before us was the freedom from all rules, all the hippie movement and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't make a plan for that. Right? But what they were rebelling about was the generation before them, who were all in fear-based attachment modes like religion and government and those fear types structures that have been built for generations and generations. So all this time, and traditions is another way. So if they don't have religion, then they have traditions. Oh no, it's a tradition. You have to bounce around on your equipment like a pogo stick. It's like, really? There's prickles out there. So our grandparents' generations and the ones before that are all these fear-based models and attachment-based models where you see it right at the end, where if one passes away, their partner dies not long after. Right? And if you ask the person who survives out of that pairing, how are they? They can't answer it. Because they've always served the other, right? And so you can't ask them anything about themselves. That you can only ask what they've been doing, and that's the only time they can give an answer calmly. Anything else, basically, you get that 80-year-old grumpy nanny type thing, and it's just not pleasant, because they're also suffering from every ailment under the sun as well. And then, so you got the next generation, the generation between ours and the grandparents one, where they resisted all those fear-based models, but didn't expect to be granted anything. And so they've thrown all the rules away, but didn't have a plan for that. So we all became experimental children from entitled parents, thinking that they'd won everything, therefore they won the rights to make our children slaves and all that sort of thing, And we've had to wake up, and we've woken up in our late 30s, 40s, and early 50s, even though you're only 21. We've woken up and we realized, holy fuck, what we've gone through. We have to spread our message, but also be there for the generation below us, because we've learned this really late. And this is where Kelly and I have made that agreement with each other that we're going to grow together and grow in such a way that when our children are ready to come home, we're going to recognize they're going to start their own lives fairly soon after that. But we're going to make sure that they know they feel welcome with us at any particular point. So much so that we've been also researching the places around the world, the few green zones and blue zones that are left, where people regularly live past 100 and 110 years of age, so that we don't ever go into the nursing home, right? That's not in our plan. We want to live to 100, 110. That is our plan. And we want to be active, jet skis, like paintballing and jet skis, even better, skydiving, doing those squirrel suits, the wingsuit things, cave diving, and all these sorts of things. So much so that our children should ring us, and our grandchildren could ring us and say, Mum, Dad, Nan and Granddad, where are you? We want to join you wherever you are in the world. If you're doing that paintball jet skiing thing, we want to join you. Where are you? Kind of thing. We want that phone call. We don't want to have to worry about our grandkids unplugging us in a nursing home just to charge their phone. We don't want that.
Yeah. And the thing is you will get that, because we become parents that we didn't have. We don't do the things that we didn't like about our upbringing. I was raised with a wooden spoon, and I'm not the only person that was raised. My whole generation was raised to be smacked for nothing. Like at the very beginning of our conversation, I love that the analogy of the toddler who breaks a lamp because they're feeling frustrated. I would break something by accident and get the crap belted out of me, and it would be something that was worth 5 cents. And that caused me to be accident prone. So much so that I couldn't hold things without shaking, because I was going to break it and they were going to hit me. Them hitting me was them taking their frustrations out on me, not actually paying attention to who I was. And I was more disappointed actually with my life that my parents really didn't really know who I was.
Same.
Always I thought, I'm a top chick, It's just, like you said before, they miss out.
Yeah.
They miss out. My mother misses out on, she gets to, nobody's actually ever dared to say to me, oh, you're guilty that your mother's 83. It's like, fuck no. I looked after my grandmother, her mother, from the age of 27. I've done my carer thing. I looked after her for 15 years. I put her in a home. I've done the power of attorney. I've done all that sort of shit. They came after me for the money. I'm like, got the power of attorney, fuck off,
Yeah.
Put her in a home. She was amazing. I was like raised by my grandmother, who must have known that she had a narcissistic only child daughter at some stage, And I just thought, no, I've already done it once. We're only supposed to do this once in our life. Look after the elder parent so you can look after yourself. My brother could look after her. He's in Melbourne though. Yeah. She's somewhere in New South Wales, not very far from where I live. But again, no, I don't feel guilty. I'm looking after myself. It's my turn. My turn to be me. Like I said to you, she's tap dancing at 83. The woman's never going to die. Why should I be in her life and be miserable when she's perfectly capable of looking after herself? And with narcissists, once you say no to them, as you said earlier on, they kind of go away.
Yeah.
They kind of stop because, they're just like, oh, okay, they don't want to play. They just move on to the next victim, the next and who's going to do what they say or be manipulated. But once you say, actually, no, stop, fuck off, they go. And
they do.
The last 10 years, my mother could have tried to get back in my life or tried to contact me to see the only grandchild that she has, but she never bothered, which is good. I only
lazy.
I to her twice. I sent back a gift voucher for his birthday and sent her a really very succinct letter, because when I tell you to fuck off, you fuck off, I And my whole entire family know that. They finally realised one day that I was the smartest one out of all of them. It's like, I do think, but if I tell you to get out of my life, there's no grey areas,
Yeah.
none. Yeah, and that's another thing that
we don't have time for grey areas.
None. No, but then that's not how we're raised. We're raised with black and white. We're raised with grey. And as an adult, we've learned to see grey and to try and figure out where we fit amongst the whole thing. But because our friends or our family, when people betray us, who we welcomed into, for me anyway, welcomed into my inner circle, I'm 3 strikes out. If you mess with me 3 times, I will get rid of you, and I will tell you to your face. There will be either write it, and there'll be a lot of fucks in it. I'll write it, or I'll tell you to your face, and there will be no doubt. And the door is shut. If I can walk away from my mother and my brother, I can walk away from you because you're not my blood.
That's right.
So it's like,
that's what I think. People like ourselves, when our printers run out of ink, it's not the fact that they've run out of ink that bothers us the most. It's this, what's this grey shit that's happened just before that? It's like, no, I want crystal clear black and white print, thanks. Yeah. And so you press print again so you get a proper copy. You don't put up fucking grey.
No, that's right. We don't have that in us. And it's that, again, that's not how we were raised. And it's not the adults.
That's their own fault for doing that.
No, but again, it's a superpower. It's something that we embrace in ourselves. And as we move forward in our adult life, we just become better and stronger. And we get to be, I've loved that you've talked about this because we didn't quite know what we were going to talk about at the beginning of this conversation.
I don't fit in any particular box because I keep shoving it up people's asses.
I love to be able to talk to people and go on a life journey. This is a journey that we've taken everybody on today, which is a really good journey about the adults that we've become and are still becoming. I'm still becoming here,
I still got shit to do.
And some of the stuff I've done on the planet and in Earth, to find out yesterday that just shy of 30 million people have watched me literally while I've been in England. In the last 5 weeks it intimidated the crap out of me, to be honest. If I was still with my mother, or if my father were alive and they had known what I was going to do in 2014, they would have said, no, don't do that, because they're the type of people that walk past the person on the ground and don't help them. They're the type of people that shut the door to the noise of the abuse happening next door.
Because they've got superiority. I'm
the person that goes and picks up the person who's fallen over. I like that about me. I don't, when I'm growing up with my mother, I never liked her as a human being. And there was such a juxtaposition when it's your mother or your father. It's just like, I know I'm supposed to love them, but I don't. So what does that say about me? It's like, I don't love you and I really don't like you as a person. And just because I really like her mother and I really like her mother. I like spending time with them. I really like them. I like the way they think. I like the way they communicate, but I really don't like my own. And for a very long time when I was growing up, that's why I thought there was something wrong with me. One of the reasons was that this is my mother. All the books and all the TV shows say that I'm supposed to love her and I'm supposed to be accepting, but it's like, but I really don't. And that's all to get over, isn't it?
It is. All the fixed mindset shows will say that.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
The Brady Bunch, all those things that we all got up with. They're all families.
Yeah, exactly. Anything's growth mindset, you won't find that unless they're still developing that aspect of themselves. But yeah, it is a journey and we've got plenty of time to go, and still got shit to do too, because this whole self-development thing is taking its time, and now I've got to do the things I originally planned for that time to, and actually make the most of because Kelly and I have also agreed that from realizing these things and letting go of the weight of carrying them, no longer having to pick up those rocks and pebbles that have been thrown to us and those bricks and what have you, we're going to turn all of that into a bargain for the future. So the equivalent of buying $1 billion for $1,000, kind of thing, that type of bargain. And we're going to turn all of that hurt and soreness that was, and the dents and the scratches and the dents and everything else that's come our way and stuff. We're going to turn that into an absolute bargain, so that when we get like quarter of the way through, we can go, wow, I can't believe I only paid that for that. It only cost me 40 years to work that out. Well done. Kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. And I do hope at least one or two people like try to use the word lucky right close enough I can slap them. Just that. It'd be nice to be able to do that once or twice. I'd be happy with that.
At least you can verbally because you've learned the way to communicate in such a way that they don't even realize they've been slapped.
Exactly. It's exactly. It's kind of like I did it in high school really well. There was a guy in high school that said something I really didn't like, and so I also knew that he really hated one of Human Nature's songs back then. So as I was walking between classes, I sung one line, and later on that day, he's stormed through the year 12 rooms like, who the hell played this song? I was like, don't fuck with me, mate. He's had that song stuck in his head the entire rest of the day.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I have worked that one out.
Oh, that's so funny. Hey, we've been chatting for nearly an hour and a half now, and you and I could talk for hours about so many things, and I'm sure again. So I'm just going to say thank you, Shaun, for joining me here today, and for all the beautiful lessons and life experiences you have shared with me and everybody that's watching on Empowered Expressions today. If you are struggling in your lives, you've now been given a whole lot of really good insight into narcissism. And if you haven't recognized where you've come from, you may recognize some of your life journey and the things that Shaun and I literally just touched the tip of the iceberg with today. So thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Really lovely for us to chat again. I think the world of you. So thank you so much for joining me on my brand new pod.
You're most welcome. And before I go, I just want to let them all know that you can get through absolutely anything. It's probably not going to taste like strawberries to do so. It's probably going to taste like shit, but you can get through absolutely anything. You can grow through absolutely anything. And most likely, any bullies or narcissists that are in your life causing you shit, they are also lazy and scared of failure. And so if you can help them just fail, they will get bored. And just keep pulling through.
And just keep trying and just keep believing in yourself and working on your mindset. And life is a journey, and keep pushing forward and keep traveling on yours. So thank you so much, Shaun, for everything. It's been great.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
You're welcome. See ya. Bye.
Thanks, Shaun. Bye.